Hello, I'm Mr. Warburton and I'm the Principal at Ely College. What we've aimed to do in this video is to give you as parents and carers extra information on how to interpret the reports that we send home for your children during the academic year. It's come at the request of parents from our parent forum meetings and our Ofsted Parent View questionnaire, where they'd like some explainers about the range of information that's presented in the report. We've embedded videos in each of the slides, and you'll be able to access the video just by clicking on my face, be polite, on each slide. That gives you the option to be able to skip through the slides that make most relevance to you, but also it gives you the time to be able to come back and look at it when it's convenient for you. We've tried to keep the timing as short as possible, but obviously when you're dealing with something that's complex, it takes a bit of time to explain. But hopefully you find by having the videos embedded on each slide, you'll be able to jump around and choose the aspects that best fit you. I hope you find this really useful. So here are a couple of examples of how schools used to report to parents. These are two of my old school reports. On the left is my Year 6 report, and it's good to know that it wasn't so long ago that it predated TypeScript. But what you would have seen as a parent would have been one report a year, effort grades and attainment grades. Quite arbitrary. There's nowhere on the report to give an illustration of what a B grade is equal to for effort or attainment. And there's no relation to any kind of target grades at any point with that report. If you did well, that was great, but if you didn't do well, that was fine also, because there was obviously no measures for the teachers to be compared to as well. And clearly I could have done with a bit more focus, quite a lot more focus in Year 6. And just to prove I wasn't a challenge all the way through school, the right hand report is from my third year in secondary. Now that wasn't Year 9 yet. That was the national curriculum came in 1989 when I went into Year 10. So I had this move from third year to fourth year, but fourth year became Year 10. So that was quite a jump. Now the national curriculum is a hugely significant change for education moving forward. But at this point, there was still one report per year, arbitrary attainment and effort, and no targets. But the fact that it was one report a year meant that teachers could leave some nice comments or sometimes not so very nice comments. So what's changed in how we report now compared to how we used to report? Well, instead of having the one report per year where there's no time to intervene or no time for parents to take any action, we've really sought to try and explain what good or poor effort is to give you as parents an opportunity to understand how your child is doing in school on a day-to-day basis. And we've also really tried to make sure that we give some clear ideas of what attainment measures we use. And we give a lot more information about behaviour. We've also got target grades, and I think that one of the key things we've looked to do is to balance the need that parents have with having more information or a narrative about their child in how to make sure that we give feedback more regularly through the year. So feedback needs to be timelier. There needs to be a few times during the year where you're able to intervene. And with that, we need to balance the detail. Parents also want really clear feedback on behaviour and attitude to learning. We're going to explain how the attitude for learning, for me, I think is one of the biggest things as parents that you can take from the report, and one of the best ways you're able to intervene and support your child's progress. So on our report, we've taken a lot of information and condensed it down into 2 pages. But clearly by putting all of that information on there, it means that parents are going to need the information in this video to really be able to explore how to pull that information out. On page 1, you'll find information of attendance, the current attendance percentage, and the progress that your child is making with their pledges. You'll also find on there target grades, progress in subjects, attitude to learning, which really relates to their behaviour and focuses. Page 2, on the other side of the report, you'll see a summary of the behaviour points that have been issued, whether your child has been on report or not, and the achievement points that your child has collected. Now, clearly, none of those elements should be news to you, because one of the platforms we've got with Edulink is an ability to be able to find that in almost real time. But we found with the reports it's really useful in those timely points just to have a summary, just to make sure you've got an idea of how that or those areas are developing over time. Now, if you imagine progress in subjects as a vertical line, so English here, maths and science. Now, if you follow the teacher guidance and develop an understanding of the theory and application, then progress improves. And you can see how that can be seen as moving from the bottom of the line up towards the top. Now, the progress you make in English will always be towards the assessment outcomes for English. Now, chances are that what you learn in English will also support you in maths and science. But really, in order to make excellent progress in English, you need to follow the English assessment objectives. Now, and that's how we report progress in the reports. But you also see in schools that there are sometimes elements or factors that can really hinder or boost performance across a range of subjects. And we call these measures attitude to learning because it really reflects a student's attitude to their learning. And within that, we're looking at effort. Clearly, those students who make a huge effort to follow the teacher guidance, that they will make more progress than those who don't always have the same focus and effort in class. Those students who make a supreme effort and get their homework done in on time and always follow to the detail and standard that we expect of the child are going to make more progress in a number of their subjects than students who don't do their homework. And then also with attendance. Students who've got excellent attendance are in lessons more, are able to take that learning through all of their subjects and make greater than expected progress. Whereas students whose attendance drops will see a real drop off in their progress in all of their subjects. So here's an example of a Year 8 report that was sent home in autumn. You can see the subjects that are taught in the column here under subject. You can see the teacher name. And then you can see 3 columns under where we've got autumn progress. You can see progress, which refers to how much progress is that child making in their subject in relation to their target grade when this report was taken. You can also see their current indicator. Now, that for us is a form of target setting with students who are in Key Stage 3. We take their prior attainment and put them into 4 different groups. Now, this is a hugely complicated process, but also massively important that parents understand. So I'll do a separate video on how we set targets for students to really go into that detail. You can also see the ATL and the attitude to learning descriptors. Now, these are using codes or letters, and you can see the detail to these underneath. So an attitude to learning, what you're looking for from a report is that some of the subjects will be always, because this is a student who's really excelling, always meets the expectations, homework is done to a really high standard, and their effort and engagement is superb. What you'd want to see in a report is that the vast majority of their attitude to learning descriptors are M's with a few subjects that are A's. What you really wouldn't want to see are attitude to learning descriptors where we're saying sometimes, because that obviously means the child is rarely fully engaged and learning behaviours are inconsistent. When I showed you that slide about the attitude to learning barriers that affect progress in all subjects, a student who's getting sometimes or not yet on their report is clearly something we need to intervene in. Just to give you an idea as well about the current indicator, what we're looking at here is for this student in particular, we've said that they're in line with national expectations, and we get that information from their prior attainment, the assessments and tests they've sat previously. What this means at the moment is that this child is showing the potential for a GCSE 4 or 5. Now, big caveat warning, that doesn't mean that the child is going to get a 4 or 5 or can only get a 4 or 5. This is just an idea at the moment of the range and potential that this child is showing. We don't really start looking at setting GCSE targets until year 9. What you can also see are these columns here where it says progress. Now, if a P plus means that that child is making greater than expected progress. Now, we've got really high target grades and really high aspirations of students, so you shouldn't really see many P pluses. But for this child to have 4 in these subjects, they're obviously doing super well. If you then see that the vast majority of progress on your child's report is P, please don't think that means that they're doing all right, they could do better. P means that they're making really good progress in relation to their targets, and we've got really high targets and challenges for the students. So if you saw a whole swathe of Ps, that really is excellent and something that they're doing really well and need to maintain. P minus means that at that particular assessment point, the child hasn't made as much progress as we would have expected. Now, that might be an issue. It also might not be. It might be relative to the work that they're doing at the moment. And what I would encourage you to look at is what's their attitude to learning. So this child in PE is not making as much progress, and that could be for a whole myriad of factors, but their attitude to school is excellent, and attitude to PE is excellent. This one here in computing, they're also a P minus, but their effort and attitude to learning is mostly. So it might just be that they're doing a really challenging piece of work at the moment. If your child has 1 or 2 P minuses, that's not necessarily something to be concerned about, but I will explain what you can do with that in the next couple of slides and how as parents you can take action. This is the second page of the report, so you can see for this particular child, in relation to how their previous page and the previous slide was looking at, this child's doing really well at school. Only 1 behaviour point for not handing homework and on time, no behaviour points for anything else, and a considerable number of academic achievement and academic effort achievement points. So everything on this report here says that this child is doing super well in school. This is a year 10 report, and you'll see the difference compared to the year 8 one I showed you previously. This is for Mary Earps in year 10, and you can see we've still got the same subjects, we've still got the teacher, but here you'll see an end of course target grade. Now again, I'll go into more detail on a separate video on how we set targets, but we set targets at the top 5% of the progress range. So for this child to get 6s, these are challenging targets. What you've also got then within the report is an end of course prediction. Now invariably you'd expect the child to be close to their target grade. There are occasions though that the target grades obviously are not a glass ceiling, and you can get students who work supremely well and can exceed those target grades, and that's what's happening at the moment in English language, where Mary's targeted as 6, but she's currently working towards a potential grade at the end of the course of a 7. Now, unsurprisingly, for someone to be making that sort of progress within their grades, their attitude to learning is mostly always, this is an exceptional school report. You can see as well that their progress is graded as above, because if Mary's target grade is a 6 and she's currently forecast a 7 at the end of course, well, she's above expected progress. Where you can see expected is where these two grades tally. You can see that Mary's got exceptional attendance of 100%, and that she's already in year 10 completed her pledges, and we'd expect year 11 to have made huge progress with their silver and well towards their gold, but the fact that she's got her gold already in year 10 is excellent work. Here's Joe Bloggs' report, and I feel a bit sorry for Joe because it's always Joe who never necessarily does very well in these examples. But there are some concerns about this report, not least when you look at the colours of the progress here. Joe's attendance is 82%. Now what that means realistically is that over an academic year, Joe will have missed 6 school weeks of 30 days. Now that's clearly going to affect his ability to understand what's being taught in lessons. We've still got the same challenging targets, but the end of course predictions here in many subjects are below those target grades. And the next thing to look at is, well, why is that? So we look at attitude to learning. Remember I said that you'd expect the majority of those with a student to be mostly, with 1 or 2 always. What you can see here is there's the majority of those are sometimes or mostly. Now there's even one here for ethics where it's not yet, and not yet is really quite poor attitude to learning. Now obviously what you can see here is that if the target grade is a 7 and their end of course is a 6, then they're 1 below. If their target grade is a 7 and they're more than 2 grades below, then you can see that that'll be purple rated. And there's only one subject in textiles where Joe's making the expected progress. Now, clearly, where you've got issues with more than one subject and you're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5 subjects that are underperforming, this really wouldn't be news to you as a parent, because this is something that the houses and the senior tutors will have communicated with you in advance of getting this report. Now, the second page of this report also isn't fantastic reading. You can see a number of behaviour points have been issued. 10 occasions the homework's not been completed or handed in. There's been 7 occasions where Joe in class has not completed the classwork that's been set, and there have been 11 occasions where Joe has been flagged for disturbing the learning of others. That's meant that on 4 separate occasions, Joe's behaviour has been so challenging and so disruptive that we've felt need to remove him from the lesson. That really is quite a concerning behaviour. When a child is behaving so disruptively and is impairing the ability of other students in the class to work, that child needs to be removed, that is something that needs to be picked up and addressed, because not only is that going to have an impact on Joe's learning, but it also has an impact on those around him. This is something where at the moment Joe's not been on report, but I would imagine, bearing in mind the concerns with the subjects and with the attitude to learning, that a report would be in place soon, and a meeting with parents and Joe to look at what we can do to bring some improvements about would be very needed as soon as possible. So what should parents do with the information in the report? Well, if the report's great, and I've given you a couple of examples of how that can look, then really you need to give your child a pat on the back, because we do set really challenging targets, and if they're making progress and you see lots of yellows and greens and attitude to learning is excellent, then your child really is doing fantastically well in school. If 1 or 2 subjects are blue and attitude to learning is mostly, then clearly this is a child who's working really hard, but for 1 or 2 reasons might not quite be making the progress that they need in that subject. So in that case, I would urge you to contact the head of subject. It's quite possible that the child has found a resit topic quite challenging and needs a bit more time to go back over that in order to secure that progress, but everything else in terms of effort, attendance and homework is in place, and that really is just a question of a little bit more time. If 3 or more subjects are blue and attitude to learning is not mostly, and you've got a number of sometimes or not yet, then it's really important that you contact the house through the SSA, the tutor, for a meeting. And we need to explore how that attitude to learning has affected progress. But like I say, I really would hope that if you've got concerns like that in a report, that we would have made contact with you before you get the report, so we'll be able to set that up in motion. So I hope you found that useful. I've taken the information for what to put in here from parent forum meetings and from our parent view survey. If you feel that I've missed anything that you want more information on, then please really feel free to email at principal@Ely College. And what we'll do is we'll take those questions and we'll provide an FAQ underneath the video. This will be the first one in a number of videos where we try and give parents extra information about how to navigate the information that we share. And it's really important that we give you that time in a means that is accessible to you. The next one we'll do is target setting, because that's quite a complex matter, but really gets to the heart of what we're doing to try and make sure that your child make the best progress possible. Thank you.